Okay. I think that's a great call. Hey, Tony. Good. Okay, thanks, Liz. Yeah, as I was saying, welcome to San Juan Bautista. We're going to start tonight off with the Historic Resources Board meeting, and that'll be followed by the Planning Commission meeting, at which time Jose and I will change places because he's the chair of that. I'm the chair of this. But before we get going tonight, I just had a special request from the city manager that we have a moment of silence to recognize our California senator, the first woman ever, by the way, to serve in the California Senate, Dianne Feinstein. And I don't always share the same views with her, but what I respected most about Senator Feinstein's approach to politics was her ability to find consensus, to reach across the aisle. And she was just a consummate professional. And I think that is sorely, sorely needed in our country today. So I think with her passing, I hope others can kind of look towards that as a model for what they want to do with their own political lives. But yeah, we lost a hero this past week. So let's do that. Let's have a moment of silence. Okay, awesome. Liz, can we have well, actually, why don't we rise and pledge our allegiance to the flag? David, you want to lead us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Senator, can you imagine how many times Senator Feinstein made that same pledge of allegiance over her career, Don? Right? San Francisco Board of Supervisors, San Francisco Mayor, and then to the Senate for all those years. Yeah, she was a hero. Okay, Liz, can we have a roll call, please?
Board Member Aranda,
Here.
Board Member Correa,
Here.
Board Member Maderos,
Here.
Chair DeBreeze.
Here. Okay, each month we set aside time to hear from members of the public on items that are not on the agenda. Just generalized comments. This is historic resources, so it'd be related to that, not planning. That'll follow this meeting. Is there any public comment? If there is not, then we will move on to our first agenda item, which means I have to open my binder. Liz, by the way, thank you for this. This is awesome. Really good job. And it's approval of the consent agenda, which consists of the affidavit of posting and the minutes. If there's any questions, let's hear them. If there's not, is there a motion to pass the consent agenda?
We move to pass the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay.
There's no public.
No, not on this. No. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, item 4, discussion, historic preservation ordinance and program. As I think some of you know, this has been my request for a number of months running. But let me ask a question though, because I have an idea. But I need to check in with all of you guys first. Honest Engine, how many people read this stuff? Not Tony, David? No, not Jose. Okay. All right. So here's what I would suggest. we'll go through this very quickly tonight. But I would really encourage each of us to review that which Brian and Liz have put into the packet to try to get an understanding about why this Historic Resources Board exists and what they're trying to do. And then we come back and we can have maybe a more fruitful conversation next month. Is that all right, Brian? Can we continue this until next month? I'll make some comments now, but I'd like to have a more in-depth conversation about this next time once we've all had, because I'm just like Tony, like if I got this in my packet, I'd be like blah 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 blah. I mean, it's a lot of gobbledygook, but there's some good stuff in here. So let's start with this, for example. The purpose of the historic preservation chapter is to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare of the city of San Juan by providing for the identification, protection, enhancement, perpetuation, and use of improvements, buildings, structures, signs, objects, records, manuscripts, features, sites, places, landscape, basically everything in areas within the city that reflect historic or cultural elements of the city's architectural, artistic, cultural, engineering, aesthetic, historical, archaeological, and natural geological, scientific, and educational, political, societal, social, military, and blah, blah, blah. Why? To safeguard the city's heritage, to encourage public knowledge, to foster civic and neighborhood pride, to promote the enjoyment and use of these historic resources by the city, to preserve diverse and harmonious architectural styles, right? That's important. We've got some architectural style issues coming up in our next meeting at the Planning Commission. I mean, this is important stuff, really important stuff. And that's why this city so long ago, and Brian, I had a hard time kind of looking at the legislative history of this. And do you have any insight on when this was when the Historic Resources Board was created? When was that? Was it in the 60s?
Well, the legislative history of the ordinance is 2008.
But that could be the last time it was revised, correct?
It is the, I think it may be the only legislative history reference in the ordinance.
Yeah, that's kind of what I saw too. So typically what companies like this one will do is the last time it was updated or there was an amendment or something, they'll mark that as the last date that it was done. But I know the Historic Resources Board in one form or another has existed in this town for a long time. And I also know that back in the day, the Planning Commission was not the Historic Resources Board. They were two separate things. And then there was a feeling that this is prior to my arrival in 1990. Then there was a feeling that the Historic Resources Board was getting kind of a little bit too out of hand. So to kind of rein that in, they made the Planning Commission also the Historic Resources Board, but they used to be two separate things. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is that historic preservation in this town is extremely important. And there's even one section in this thing that talks about this is subsection G, to protect and enhance the city's historic resources for residents, tourists, to support stimulus to business and commerce. I mean, that's what it's all about. Preserving and protecting history in this town equates to money for us. And we have to understand that, and we have to do a good job at it. We've been kind of gifted this stewardship of the city of San Juan Bautista's historical assets. And I, for one, am not going to let our ancestors down. And I know you guys don't want to do that either. So we have to follow through. Leonard Catano, right? Leonard was huge on this stuff. And all Leonard's cohorts, Val Veruti, Valente.
Dan, could you, being there might be some people here for the first time, what we're trying to do here, kind of introduce that idea and why we're putting this on the agenda? I'd
Sure.
appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, David.
Thank you.
Good point.
You might want to ask staff too.
So just by way of background, I was chairman of this planning commission and the Historic Resources Board for 14 years in the 90s. I never read the ordinance that created it. True story. I had no idea. I had no idea who we were, what we were supposed to do. And then I went into the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code and I read it. And I was like, holy smokes, this is a weighty job. This is not something to be just overlooked. So I want to take it seriously this go around. And that's why I asked Brian in conversations with him. He agreed. And by the way, we have a great historical architect. What is that the right way to refer to Meg, Brian? Historical consultant?
Architectural historian.
Architectural historian. We have a great architectural historian on board right now. And she is committed to work with Brian and the city to kind of go through this whole ordinance. But for purposes of tonight, I just thought it would be great if we could orient ourselves towards what is it that we are supposed to be. As you guys, so here's my recommendation. With your packet materials, take this section out, read it through. You can skip the definitions. The definitions are boring. And then when you get to, like, for example, section 1106.030, Historic Resources Board. The HRB shall consist of 5 planning commissioners. Like, as I said, that wasn't always the case. It used to be a separate board. Preference shall be given to residents of the city who have a unique knowledge of the cultural history of San Juan Bautista and who have a demonstrated interest and knowledge in historic preservation. At least 2. This is the law in this town. At least 2 members shall be appointed from among professionals in the disciplines of history, architecture, architectural history, planning, prehistoric and historic archaeology, folklore, cultural anthropology, curation, conservation, and landscape architecture, or related disciplines. Well, I don't think we have 2 people fitting that bill right now. That's not to say that we're not qualified. I think what it is to say is that when this board, this historic preservation board, was committed, they weren't fooling around. They took historic preservation very seriously, and we should too. Okay, enough said on that. Any comments, David, Jose?
I just made my comment earlier. Have we had anything prepared by staff as far as the subject matter? I would like to think that in the near future, we could also have a workshop along with our architectural historian leading the way there, as far as her going through it and bringing back a presentation of some sort where we can all be invited, including the public, be invited to a workshop that we can work on this together and go through it.
No, I agree. And Brian and I talked about that.
Just a suggestion.
Brian and I talked about that, and I alluded to that in my opening comments that as I understand it, Meg is going to be working with Brian to go through the whole ordinance, but I just, for purposes of right now, wanted to establish the foundational underpinnings of this meeting. Right? We didn't just come here and sit down and say, like, let's talk about planning. We sat down and we said, let's talk about the Historic Preservation Board. Okay, well, what is that exactly? And how does it exist and where does it exist? It's created by law, by laws that were passed by the citizens of this town. And these are what the laws say. So I think that we would all do ourselves a favor. And so that's the foundation. David, to get back to your point, that's the foundation upon which Brian and May can build. But there, I guarantee you that nothing that Brian and May come up with is going to obviate the need for historic preservation, is going to take a ding in that. It's going to be strong. It's just the way that we do that. Do you have any comments, Brian, on that?
Only that there's budget for Meg's work on the historic preservation ordinance.
Say that again about budget.
There is budget for it. Part of her program.
So it would be my hope that we take historic preservation from here and raise it up to here. That we start taking it very, very seriously. I mean, as you heard from the things I rattled off, I mean, manuscripts, documents, it's not just structures, it's places, it's things that happened in this town. It's our duty. You know, we always think about Georgiana Ghilardi and Caravanc and Vanda Guibert as being the ones that are kind of the stewards, you know, the historical society. But no, it's our responsibility to make sure that these things are preserved as set forth in the law that governs this town. So I'm very serious about it, and I hope you guys will be too. Okay, so can we do that? Can we kind of commit to looking through this introductory material that Brian provided in our packet, and then we'll talk more about it. And next time, what I'm going to ask you guys is, what did you find interesting? What stood out to you? What didn't you know before? What do you know now? What has your mind been changed about or altered about, you know, what's important to the city of San Juan Bautista? And I think we'll have a good conversation. But I kind of had a feeling that no one had read that stuff. So, all right, let's move on. No, there will be no public comment tonight. Just kidding. Just kidding. Is there anyone on Zoom? Well, let's start with Chambers. Anyone here that wants to comment on anything so far? Seeing nothing. Anyone on Zoom, Liz?
Seeing no hands raised.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. Number 5, comments, Historic Resources Board members. Anybody want to say anything about anything? I'll start. What do you guys think about what I just said?
Very valid concerns, and I personally think, my personal opinion is that the Historic Resources Board should not be the same members as the Planning Commission,
I agree.
because all we do is pass from one to the other. And the Historic Resources Board deals with more complex issues than the Planning Commission. And I see it's written in the ordinance, but if there's a way we could change that and change the structure of it and have more historic preservation professionals on our Historic Resources Board, that would be a better deal.
I agree with that. Commissioner Tony, let's go around the horn. David, what do you think about what Tony just said?
Yeah, I go along with that too. We'll have to explore that and see where we go with that as far as the city is concerned. But I also, in the past, brought before City Council that we should split the Planning Commission and the Historical Resources Board, and it was voted down. So historically, I've worked on this in the past. I'm looking forward to working on it right now. So we'll see what happens from here on out. I'm willing to be open-minded and willing to go forward with a better way of doing things when it comes to the preservation historically, when it comes to San Juan Bautista in general. And anything, like you said, it could be a tree, it could be a building, it could be an event. It could be anything that we need to look at that we might have overlooked. And if we did, maybe through our research, and when we do come up with a better way of doing things as far as historical resources go, by going through this exercise, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, thank you. I know you went through that with that gal from Colorado. What was her name? Your fellow planning commissioner back then? Do you remember? She was awesome. I liked her. But you,
I have a hard time thinking about that.
but you guys, but the point is that you and her took a run at separating them,
Right.
right? And that didn't go well. I mean, as far as a vote from the council. And I'm not sure why that was. I didn't follow it that closely. But the question is whether we should think about that again, anew. Because obviously the intent, if you read, once you guys do read that ordinance that Brian included in the bracket, you'll say like, holy smokes, this is completely different than what we're doing now.
Yeah, I can bring my notes next time and review that with you, with us, and see if that we can find some things in there that can change people's minds.
All right.
And I can review that with you.
Thank you, David. Jose, what do you have to say?
I'm just gonna echo what Commissioner Correa and Commissioner Maderos were just stating. From what it sounds like in that ordinance, it does sound like it makes sense to probably separate the two. The two the two commissions. And have it be separate. But one interesting find there is that I didn't realize that it requires, you know, an architect person in there, a planning person, and all these moving parts. So that was really interesting, and that was new to me. So I definitely agree. Whatever it is that we can do to support that and find those right people that can be on that commission would definitely make sense, or that board, essentially. So yeah, I look forward to reading the rest and kind of just diving deep in there to figure out what it will take to make it really work.
Okay, excellent. Well said. So why don't we just kind of table the idea of separating the Historic Resources Board from the Planning Commission for the time being, but keep that all in the back of our minds. And as we go through this stuff, maybe even with May, ask ourselves, do we need to does the Historic Resources Board need, I'm not sure how it would work, Brian and Don, with the Historic Resources, let's say the Historic Resources Board comes to the point in time where they say to the Planning Commission, we recommend that the Planning Commission make a recommendation to the City Council, ... Like, how does it go up the food chain if there is a recommendation to separate the two? I think it probably would go to the Planning Commission, but we are the Planning Commission, so imagine how that's going to go. And then there would be some kind of formal recommendation to the City Council that they could act upon. So that's something, like I said, we can just keep in the back of our minds. But in the meanwhile, we can all agree that historic preservation in the city of San Juan Bautista is very, very, very important. It's our lifeblood. We make money on it. It's what we're known of, the city of history. Does it say that on our little logo down there? No, it doesn't. It says it on our agenda. Yeah, we are the city of history. And if we lose that, we lose everything. So we really need to protect that and preserve it. And that's what this body is charged to do. Okay, that's the Historic Resources Board member comments. Community Development Director, Brian, anything? Okay. Therefore, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are adjourned for the the Historic Resources Board. And should we take a 2-minute break so that we can change seats and so forth? And then,
Sure.
okay, great.
Time's up.
Right. Hi, everyone. It is now 6:28 PM and I would like to call the Planning Commission meeting of Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023 to order. Commissioner Correa, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Clerk, can I please get a roll call?
Commissioner Correa,
Here.
Commissioner DeBreeze,
Here.
Commissioner Maderos,
Here.
Chair Aranda.
Here. All right, this is the time for general public comments on items that are not posted on the agenda and that are under the city subject matters jurisdiction. The Planning Commission will not be engaging, and if you have anything that requires follow-up, staff will be happy to get back to you. Public comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The chair may further limit the time for public comments depending on the agenda's schedule. If you're attending in person and wish to make a public comment, please fill out the speaker card and state your name for the record. I would like to open up the floor for public comment. Clerk, is there anyone on Zoom land?
Chair, seeing no hands raised and no speaker cards received.
Thanks. So then, and that's for our chambers as well, right?
That is correct.
Got it. All right, then I will move on to our consent. There are 2 items on the consent agenda. The minutes of September 12th, 2023 are being tabled for our next meeting. Is that correct? All right, so we are going to go and approve the affidavit of the posting agenda. And let's see. And we're also going to be approving the regular meeting minutes of August 1st, 2023. I'm sorry, and there's another one. Approve the special meeting minutes of September 12th, 2023. Can I get a motion from any of our commissioners?
So moved.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Perfect. With the motion from Commissioner, why am I having blank?
Schmutz.
With a motion from Commissioner DeVries and a second from Commissioner Correa, clerk, can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Correa,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBreeze,
Yes.
Commissioner Maderos,
Yes.
Chair Aranda.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. All right, and now we're going to be opening up our public hearing. It's going to be considering an amendment to site and design review. Permit number DR 20014-11 and CUP 2014-11. Fuel station convenience store and quick serve restaurant located at 404-408 San Juan Hollister Road in the city of San Juan Bautista, APN 002-52-012 in the city of San Juan Bautista, filed by Fred R. Avila on behalf of SJB Alameda Enterprises. Staff, do we have a report?
Yes. So let me just sort of set the stage for this site and design review permit by talking about, first of all, what was advertised as part of the public hearing this evening. We advertised a public hearing for use permits for a car wash and a formula retail pizza food preparation inside the convenience store. And those use permits have been withdrawn. So this evening, we are only considering a site and design review permit for a retail building on the site that revises the design for the retail building that was previously approved. We have a approval for a 6,144 square foot retail building with a convenience store and a quick serve restaurant. This project revises that, reduces the size of the building to 5,665 square feet. It's still a convenience store. There is a lease space, and we don't know what the tenancies are for the convenience store or the lease space. And for that reason, a use permit will likely be necessary depending on the tenants if these are formula retail businesses. The other aspect of this is that previously there was an approved canopy. I'll put up a rendering in a minute. And also put up a rendering showing the previous design, which is the subject of the hearing this evening. But what happened with the previous design is that I think there was a desire to amend the canopy structure. There is currently a desire to amend the design of the canopy structure that was approved previously, sort of a monolithic pitched roof design to enlarge that space to accommodate more pumps. I think diesel pumps the applicant wants to add, so they can describe that amendment here. What's being proposed here then this evening is just simply a redesign of the retail building itself. The site design is not proposed to be amended, although an amendment to the site and design review permit will be necessary when the enlarged canopy structure is proposed. But we're not expecting any significant modifications to the overall site plan resulting from that change. Without the car wash, basically the building is in the same location as it was approved previously. The access to the site will work pretty much the same. We're looking for, and this project was approved in 2016. And so you have two resolutions attached to the staff report, resolution 2016-47, which approved the negative declaration subject to mitigation measures. And then you have, and the necessary findings to go with it. And then you have a resolution 2016-48, which contains all the conditions of approval from the various departments and incorporates all the mitigation measures that were adopted. Those two resolutions have been incorporated into the resolution that you have before you this evening to consider. Those resolutions would be incorporated in that resolution by reference. So we aren't amending any conditions of approval. All the conditions of approval are still alive. The project that was previously approved is still valid. It will remain valid until building permits are pulled. And so with your review and consideration of the redesign this evening, essentially there will be two active designs for the retail building, one previously approved and the one being considered this evening. So with that, I'd just simply like to put up the previous designs that were approved so we can see essentially what those look like. And previously, you can see here that basically we have a sort of a Monterey style or an approach to a Monterey style building and canopy structure. As I said before, the canopy that was approved previously is sort of a monolithic pitched roof design. And then the building itself sort of nods to the Monterey style with tile and those roof designs. Here you see the overall the overall design that was approved previously, again still active, I guess I have several looks at the same. Oh, here we are. So it gives you an idea, sort of previous design is relatively plain and not very ambitious with respect to our design guideline, meeting our design guidelines. With this redesign, you know, this is the rear east elevation of the building, again, relatively plain and not especially responsive to our design guidelines with respect to style. We did have an opportunity to review those characteristics with the applicant, and the applicant did decide that it would be important to take another careful look at what we're really looking for. We consulted again with our architectural historian regarding the appropriate elements for Mediterranean revival style buildings that are referenced in our commercial design guidelines. And you do have a copy of those guidelines in front of you this evening so that you'll have an opportunity to ask questions about those. But basically the design of this building and these elevations don't represent the 360-degree design. A condition of approval does require 360-degree design that comes back to staff for consideration and to ensure that those principles are achieved. Well, let me review the conditions of approval in a minute. Yeah, so let me look at the conditions of approval, just a second. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Ooh. So for that reason, let me take a minute here to what happened. All right, great. So let me find the previous renderings that I did not share. Hang on just a minute. And yeah, thank you. So with this, I think we can push this down a little bit. Yes, no. Yeah, minimize it. Thank you. So everyone else on Zoom can now see the elevations of the building that was proposed before that I just talked about. I won't go over my comments again, but just so that you can see the previous design.
Again, just to renew the question, you said that.
Yes, I understand. I'll get to that in a second, Dan. Thank you. And then previously I put up. So previously I put up to the commission this particular elevation and then scrolled through the other elevations which are proposed, which in staff's view are not consistent with the 360-degree design principle. I have seen, by the way, the applicant's response to that particular condition. I don't know if you're prepared to present that this evening, but it would be appropriate if you are to do that so that the commission can see your approach. That was recommended. So let me find the conditions of approval. Yes, I'm sorry, that was a mistake. That is being proposed, that is a condition of approval that requires a 360-degree design to come back to the commission. Okay, so, but basically, that redesign will look very similar and have very similar elements to the one that's proposed here. So with that, the canopy structure is not yet proposed. We're looking for compatibility between the canopy structure and this particular design here, which we think is pretty responsive, much more responsive than the previous design to our design guidelines with respect to the particular style. And it does incorporate the elements of that style. And the applicant has outlined basically in the staff report, you'll see the building is style is a Mediterranean revival style. It has clay tile roofing, true barrel tile, which will be red. The outriggers will be brown, double fascia on the gable ends, fascia on the hip roof, arch window tops, and arch window openings for the retail building and the lease space, and basically other design elements that are compatible with this particular style. I was encouraged by the fact that the applicant decided to do arched windows and the cut lights, which I think are appropriate for that particular style. So with that review, I'd like to hand it over to the applicant in case applicant would like to make presentation and then take any questions.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Fred Avila from Avila and Associates, and I am the designer of the project. Just to give you a little background from where we're coming from. We met with Brian back in February, and what happened was the old permit had expired based on, it was 2 building codes passed. It was the original project was done under the 2016 code. We're currently under the 2022 code. So, and the owners could have gone back to the original architect and just made some, had him bring all his plans up to code. They wanted to add a car wash, so we went through a complete redesign with that at first, and as we get into this, we're finding out that, it's not something that really worked out for us. So we cut the car wash out of it. Kept the 6 pumps or 6 MPs, as they call them, for the fuel for cars. And then we added 1 diesel. You have my PowerPoint, Brian? Handy?
Actually, no, I don't have your PowerPoint.
It's the one I emailed to you.
Yeah.
I sent it on Monday.
Yeah. We'll see if we have it. If we,
Okay. Yeah, okay. But what we've done is we've actually laid out all 4 elevations. We've added the rear or the east side is now very, very similar to what is done on the west side of the building, as far as we popped out some columns to give it that same look as we did on the others on the west side. In doing that, we also
can I make a request that we take just a brief break so I can get the PowerPoint that the applicant's referring to? I think that would be appropriate.
Sure,
yeah,
absolutely.
it'll show you a lot more.
Yeah.
But I have a couple of things before we.
Can we do that? Can we get the PowerPoint first?
Yeah.
So that we don't interrupt this
No,
presentation.
I would prefer to say this right now. Your name's Mr. Avila,
Yes.
and the applicant is, what's the applicant's name? Okay. I need to say this for the record. I used to formally represent your neighbor, the hotel, Leo. I haven't represented that guy in 10 years. And he doesn't even own that hotel anymore. And so there's some question about conflicts and so forth. I want to assure you that I don't have any conflict whatsoever. And during the time that I did represent him, the only thing that we were objecting to was the design. So design is really, really important to me. Not just because of, Frank Leal and owning that hotel, but just because I live here and I've lived here for 35 years. And I want the design to be really, really good.
Sure.
So that's number one. Okay, so I want if you have any concerns about that at all, let me know. I've checked with our city council, not council with the SEL, not the city council, but our city attorney, I should say. And I don't think I have a conflict whatsoever, but I want you to know that.
I appreciate it. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
And the second question, Mr. Apple, is what's your trade? Are you a designer or a contractor, or what's your background?
I'm a designer.
Architect or designer?
I'm not licensed, but I've worked for architects.
Okay.
I've been in the business for 45 years.
Right now, I know you designer guys do a great job, so
Thank you.
it just helps me to understand the
Sure.
background. So thank you. That's all I have to say.
No worries. We're gonna take a brief little break here while our staff gets this presentation.
Sure, it'll help because.
Perfect, and it lets
it
us
has all
see
four
it.
sides.
So let's do this. We'll take do you think 5 minutes is okay?
Yeah.
We'll do 5 minutes just so that everyone knows that we'll be right back. All right, so we're back and staff, do we have that presentation for the applicant? Thank you. Thanks everyone for your patience.
Second one, there you go.
Sweet.
Go back up to the site plan, Brian. Look at the site plan real quick. That still has the car wash on it. That's not the correct one. We've actually removed the car wash and moved the C-store and the lease space back to within 5 feet of that back property line. So it's changed it quite considerably. It also allows more space between the store, or I'm sorry, the actual parking in the front and the canopy. And it gives more room to actually manipulate cars in there and less chance of vehicular fender benders. So by moving it back, it gives us more room, and we try to keep a good space between between the back of the stall and the canopy. And it also allows, the more space we have, it makes it easier for the actual fuel trucks to get in and out of the parking lot as well. So when they're delivering fuel, you go down to the.
So Jose and I were just asking ourselves, is the top line 156 and then the left-hand side, is that the Alameda?
Yes, the left-hand side is the Alameda. The top is the 156, and
Okay.
then so it fits exactly per the original approved CUP.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mhm. If we come down, go down one more, Brian, please. That's the actual color palette that we're gonna incorporate into the project. With the red clay tile roof, some of the browns on the darker browns on the outriggers that are sticking out on the elevations, the sea salt, and then you have the gray tile. The gray tile is up about 3 feet around the buildings, especially in the front, because when people come out of the store, they have a tendency to stand against the wall and it makes a real high maintenance issue. So trying to eliminate some maintenance problems. And actually, we in this actual design, we actually discussed this, Brian and I, and he was discussing with your architectural historian. So we tried to work with her and get it to where it was within those parameters to make it work for the city. If you go down, Brian, I think I've got the other elevations. This, okay, there's the front.
Is that all stucco?
It's all stucco, yes. And then tiles, a little like squares on the walls. I've actually done there's actually another one that's not in here that that I sent Brian on Monday. This is probably the first, but I actually took and on the back of the store, which is this east side, the lower portion, looks very similar to the front. It has that same, if you look on the left side, it would be on the right side. It has that same hip roof, and then that gable roof comes through as well on that east side. So it really breaks it up.
Are those lighting fixtures that we see in the left, the middle, and the far right?
Yes.
Sconces?
Yes. Yeah, yes, those are sconces, and what we did is we recessed those into the wall. And then we used wood, we used dark colored wood vents in there on each side of the actual signage.
And what will the signage say? And how will it be illuminated internally or externally?
Those are usually, how do you want to illuminate them?
The sign program is not part of this.
Yeah, the
sign-
sign program's not part of it.
I'm just asking the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, well, what will come back to the commission will be the 360-degree design per conditions. The sign permit per conditions and the canopy design per conditions.
And what I'm gonna do is the
I
actual,
was wondering if there's an answer right now.
the
ahead.
canopies are done by the actual jobber or fuel, the person that installs the fuel tanks. The contractor, so they'll get us a design to match the building. So with columns with probably sconces in them, and then I'm thinking a hip roof on that rather than a gable. So
the jobber, as you say, or the fuel provider, they're the ones going to design the canopies above the pumps?
what they do is they match our design because they build it out themselves too. So whomever they use for the actual, yes, they actually provide us with the.
Is that design subject to planning commission review, Brian? Don't you get it?
Yeah, as I said before, the site and design review permit that comes back to the commission will include the 360-degree design. It'll include the sign permit, sign program, and it'll include the design of the canopy.
They'll draw it, but we'll do it. They'll do it per our request of matching the building. That's what they'll do.
Interesting. All right.
So it'll be, 76 is probably going to be our fuel branding.
Okay.
So they do that. So
How many pumps, Mr. Avila?
6.
6 pumps?
So that's 12 stations,
So 2 rows of 6?
3 rows of 2.
3 rows of 2. I see. All right. That's less than it was originally, isn't it, Brian? What was it originally?
8, I believe.
It's all, I think it's
It's
always
always
been
been
6. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was talking about the EV charging.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then we have EV charging as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, wasn't there 2 more pumps added for diesel? Is there plans for that or,
There's gonna be one.
oh, one pump?
Uh-huh.
So will that be, how will that be added on?
That'll be free.
One of
That's
them, it'd be one of the 6?
No,
Oh.
no, they'll have diesel for car. It's more like for RVs.
Hmm.
And trailers, somebody pulling in with their truck and their trailers, so it's just one pump, so because an RV's longer,
Right.
you don't have depth to be able to,
So it's gonna be
Manipulate.
placed where?
it'll be south of the canopy.
I was gonna say, you don't have a rendering of all this like in color, so I can kind of more visualize it a little more. Do you by
No,
any
we don't,
chance?
because we did this and this was kind of, we did this in the 12th hour.
No worries, no worries. All right, yeah, no, it helps me kind of
Sure.
visualize it a little more. And that tile, can we go back? So you're saying that every little square that I'm seeing is all tile going all the way up to.
Except for on this backside, you're only gonna have tile, it'll be just like it is in the front.
Okay, got
It'll
it.
be just like the west elevation, so the stuff on top, and then it has some lean-to roofs in between the gable and the hip,
Okay,
and that's tile.
got it.
That's a covered walkway is what it turns out to be.
Wait, okay, you both lost me there.
Yeah.
This is, I asked you if this is stucco and you said yes, and now is this a tile? Okay,
All this is tile, all this going up, all this is stucco. So anything that's like little squarey, that's tile.
above the windows?
Yes, and then there's a little stucco there, just above the window.
No, the stuff right above, right above the windows, that's tile.
Oh, because it's showing
That's
like
what?
stucco.
That's tile above, on that west elevation.
Mhm.
It has the tile down low, and then it has the tile in between the arches. And it's full height tile.
Got it.
But the area around where it says signage area, that's all stucco.
That's all stucco on the outside.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
And the tile that you are envisioning for the area around the windows, is gonna be multicolored or solid color?
No, it's a solid color. It's a real light grayish color.
Oh, I see it here.
Is that Dell tile ambassador?
Uh-huh.
Sorry, I'm still trying to put it all together and envision it here, so bear with me. Okay. All right, anything else that you want to mention to us?
Right now, we've actually we're only about 20. We're less than 20% lot coverage on buildings now. So it's pretty low. And then all the driveways will be concrete, and just because they hold up better than paving, you're always having to go back with fuel. It's just a nightmare. So and then we still have the landscape on both street sides and on the east side as well.
Got it.
And then there's accessible areas from the street to the building. So.
And then Brian, question, I know this is, we're just looking at design, I'm just trying to envision all this too. Roundabout with all that, that's going right there next to this gas station?
I don't believe Caltrans has a roundabout in their plans for that intersection.
Is that still gonna be a stoplight?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. But if the applicant's finished,
Yes.
okay, good. So I'd like to just briefly go over the conditions of approval. There's a lot coming back to the planning commission on this project. So the options for the commission this evening are to, because there's so much coming back, the options are to continue the project, to allow those elements to come back before the commission, or to approve the project with conditions of approval that require the same thing to happen. So basically, what's coming back per conditions of approval are all of the conditions in 2016 48 and 47. Condition number 1, which requires that the buildings have this 360-degree design consistent with what you're seeing in the west elevation, and that that you will see a site and design review permit for the sign program. In condition 3, you'll see designs for the perimeter walls, which are required to be consistent with design specified in prior resolutions, which are architecturally designed walls. I'm assuming they'll be capped with some sort of a tile, and there'll be masonry in design, but we haven't seen those yet, so that has got to come back. Pump island canopy structure, including any enlargement, trash receptacle and storage bin design, on-site circulation and striping. We need to see that. And then because things are being revised, moved around a bit, and then revised site plan and elevation showing changes resulting from elimination of the car wash. So that's a updated design. Then we want the applicant to submit plans for noise attenuation per the previous resolution. That was a subject of the litigation that this project underwent in 2016, prior to 2016, between 2014 and 2016. And then a detailed landscape plan sufficient to meet the performance standards that are outlined in the condition. And then prior to grading, building or grading permits, stormwater management for the site to meet Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board requirements. And then the verification of lighting plan will meet the dark sky ordinance. That'll have to be something that we'll have a lighting expert provide a plan for. Colors and materials consistent with what's being proposed. And then assuming that that's approved by the commission, and if it's not, if this is continued to allow these things to come back, then that would be come back along with the revised plans. And then a requirement that the applicant pursue and obtain a conditional use permit for any formula retail. So those are the conditions for this particular site and design review permit. As I said, there's a lot to come back, but we're not giving up on the previous conditions of approval. Those will still be required.
Thank you. So at this point, I would like to open it up to commissioners for comments. Any commissioners want to say something? All right, we'll start with Commissioner DeVries.
You want to do public first and then return it to that?
Go. I'm sorry. I'm not all here today. We will start with public comment. Anyone in Zoom land? Just quick.
We have one hand raised. Ms. Vonk, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. This is Cara Vonk. I just have a couple of comments on the design. Actually, I thought that the renderings, the realistic renderings that were in the packet were actually the redesign. So, I kind of have to do a about face here. First, I want to mention the canopy. A lot went into making sure that that was a gable roof when it was before the Planning Commission before. So I think it should be a gable roof. I just want to mention that. And then I was quite concerned with the wall that is facing Highway 156. In the original design, it was very blank. And I would hope, I don't know what the redesign looks like, but I assume it's still pretty blank. I would like to see windows or doors. They can be fake, but something that makes it look more like a real building. You know, windows are character defining of a building, and they're eyes of the building. So even if they're fake, just to make it look like it's a really nice place to visit. And then in the earlier rendering, there was also a kind of a light yellow boxy thing. And I assume that was the garbage enclosure. I'm hoping the garbage enclosure will be hidden somewhere, maybe in the back of the building where it's not visible from Highway 156. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to seeing the 360-degree view of the building at your next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Seeing no other hands raised via on Zoom. And no speaker cards received.
Thank you. All right, so then I will move on to commissioner comments. Yes, sorry, I'm telling you, I'm all over the map today. So let's start off with Commissioner DeVries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to commend the applicant and Mr. Avila for trying to create a really, really great design. This is a very important piece of property to the city of San Juan Bautista. It's catty corner from the Windmill Market. It's a gateway into our entire community on both sides of the highway. So therefore, we need to get this right. We only have one chance to get it right. I have often said that, in my opinion, the Windmill Market represents some of the best design and architecture I could imagine, because it's just a grocery store in a strip center. But yet in that vernacular, a big barn and, you know, kind of outbuilding kind of design, it fits. And not only fits our community, it's an asset to our community. You know, it's one of those things where you see it and you say like, wow, I'm in San Juan. And I think the design of your property needs to be just as exceptional as the windmill design is. Are we there yet? I'm not sure if we're there yet, to be honest. I think these are steps in the right direction. But I wanted to ask you just kind of you've already been approved for a prior design. And I'm fully aware of that. But I wanted to kind of tonight gauge your openness to have even more design suggestions come from the community through the planning commission. I think, like I said, I think you're taking steps in the right direction. I think it's a lot better than it started out being. But is there still an opportunity to improve? I know that's kind of obtuse, isn't it? Yeah, that's kind of open-ended. But just generally speaking, like depending upon what the suggestion is, and I don't have any suggestions right now, by the way. I'm not thinking about anything in particular, except for the fact that I know that we have to get this right because it's such a critical property in San Juan Bautista. And we need this design to be magnificent. Are we there yet? Like I said, I don't know. I don't know if we are.
Sorry.
We could add some windows on that north side in the lease space fairly easily. As you get back further, you know, I mean, when you have things like mini marts and stuff like that in there, you have to have room for your cold boxes. So putting anything on the east side itself, we do it on the north side, but the east side is very difficult to add any type of window, you know, features or anything like that into it because it'll just be blanked out. At some point, we have to look at the budget that the clients are working with as well, and you know, and we're trying to stay within that as well.
No, it's always it's all about budget. No,
Yeah, it is.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about adding windows. I'm just talking about the overall kind of feel of the development once it's constructed. And the second question I had is the extent to which any thought was given towards this property and the hotel property next door kind of talking to each other, relating. So for example, if I was staying at the hacienda and it's 10:30 at night and I'm hungry, I might want to go over to the convenience store and get a hot dog or some chips or a soda or something. Is there gonna be a path in between them? Has any thought been given as to how these two properties are gonna interrelate to one another in such close proximity? Like a lighted pathway between the two?
No, and you know, then do we have to get into cross-access agreements as far as things like that between the two properties?
Well, I don't know about a cross access. I don't even know what a
Yeah.
cross access agreement is. But just is there so the answer is no, in terms of these two properties kind of interrelating or being close to one another to where they both make sense on that corner.
I understand, yeah, 100%. And Brian, are the perimeter walls, is there anything between the hotel and the from the original CUP, was there
Yeah.
any kind of perimeter wall between the hotel and the?
Yeah,
See,
there is for noise attenuation, there's a 6-foot wall. That's architectural in design. So there's a 4-foot wall on the east side, but there's a 6-foot wall on that side, and it's supposed to be compatible with the architecture.
And that's when you say that side, it's the 6-foot walls on the south side,
South side,
Yes, south side.
separating the gas station
Yeah.
from the hotel.
so,
Right. But and again, it's for noise attenuation. So if you breach that wall, then there goes your noise attenuation. So there is a pretty strict condition of approval regarding noise, can't exceed a certain level at the perimeter of the property. It's if you read conditions 20 and 21, it's the most exhaustive condition of all of the conditions in that resolution. So I would think that if that is going to be proposed, we have to take a careful look at whether those standards can be met. We are requiring that regardless, and this was true when the car wash was proposed, that a supplementary noise study be prepared demonstrating that that facility could be accommodated within the parameters established by that condition. So it's pretty strict.
And was that one of the reasons why you deleted the car wash? The noise issue? Or was it budget?
it was budget, it was, yeah, you know, we're trying to get the project moving rather than continually, hitting roadblocks with different things on that. So
Sure, right,
we're
right.
trying to get it moving for the owners.
Sure, I bet. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Brian, I know I talked with you about this on the phone, but is there any way possible right now I can text you some pictures and you can put them up on the screen so we can see some stuff from my phone?
Certainly, I'd have to go, I don't know how we do this. I'd have to go get your, I don't know about texting. Email, can you email those and then we can retrieve them and put them up? We can take a break to do that. You want to email them to Liz?
Okay, yeah. Should I do that, Liz?
Okay, good.
That'd be wonderful.
By the way, we did in preparation for that, just while you're working on the sending that, we did send the applicant to provoke a redesign. We sent them about 10 or 12 different kinds of styles that they could emulate for a redesign. One of the styles that we felt was sort of evocative of the Mediterranean revival style was the little gas station in the Carmel Highlands, and that has
That's one of the pictures I was gonna give you.
yeah, that has the cut lights, it has the arched windows, it has the stucco, cement stucco exterior, it has the tile roof. So I think an attempt was made, significant attempt was made to replicate that style in a different setting.
Well, you're taking the wind out of my sails a little bit because yeah, that's and Jose.
Well, we can,
Jose and I were just talking about that little right underneath the Highlands Inn.
yeah, people would be interested to see that though.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so I'll do this while you can right. Elizabeth, what's your email again?
All right, so I'm gonna move on to our next commissioner comment. Commissioner Maderos?
Yeah, if there was time, and I understand that the historic, what do you call it, the architectural historian has assisted in this design. And appreciate that, and appreciate the fact that they've worked so hard to bring this forward. But I'm kind of leaning on Mr. Commissioner DeVries' side in the fact that, are there any other options that might be designed and shared with this commission other than what we just talked about now, that might lean us to either use combined whatever designs come up, or something that might be a little bit different, that would represent San Juan Bautista a little bit more.
Well, one of the things to understand about this particular hearing this evening is that it's missing some pretty significant
Yeah.
pieces in terms of a site and design review permit. So you're missing an overall site plan, missing an overall landscape plan, missing signage, missing the elements in condition 3, perimeter walls, and those are architecturally designed walls. And so I think with the appropriate package, including the 360-degree design, it'd be a lot easier to see whether the whole package is worthy of approval, and whether anything else needs to be added. So I think the applicants tried pretty hard with this particular approach. And I think when you get all the pieces together, the commission will be better able to see how it all fits together. For example, the landscaping is supposed to include some historically relevant materials. And so, we need to kind of go through that process to figure that out. So I think, like I said, it needs to come together.
But I do like the direction we're going right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Like I said, these are steps in the right direction, and we're appreciative of you guys trying to accomplish a really nice design. I think we can get you there. That's the good news. We'll get there. Did you get all those lists? All right, cool.
And then Commissioner Correa, no comment? All right.
I have one more thing.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have one more thing about the canopy. I know we're not there yet, but if I'm looking at the current drawings, aesthetically, I just think it looks like it's kind of awkward, and kind of the roof itself is really kind of looks burdensome when it comes to overweight. It looks like it's overweight for that particular type of structure. Although, what are you going to do with tile? So anyway, I just wondering about the canopy as we see it today in the current design. I just aesthetically, it just looks too heavy for its purpose. As far as design goes, I don't know.
The thing is a gable roof's gonna look heavier because you're gonna have just 2 sides to it, where a hip roof kind of smooths that out. You can go with a low slope hip roof, and it's gonna take some of those edges off of that and some of that bulkiness, because it's not as nice. Thank you.
Cool. We'll pull up these photos. Hang tight.
Cool your jets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that one's super cool. Yeah, it looks. Sometimes I think it looks like it's amusement park. I love it though.
That's the right thing, but it's a deception. It's not.
It actually looks like the middle.
They make $1 million, man. This is license to print money. My mom used to go there every Saturday. Are you ready?
All right, let's take a look at these photos.
Okay, so thank you, Liz and Brian, for making this happen. So let's, is that the first one? So that these first two are of a car wash. Because back when I was first informed about this project, I thought there might be a car wash. And this is in Cambria, California. Really cute little coastal town, very historical and architecturally sensitive. And I thought these guys just knocked it out of the park with their design. I mean, it's just, this thing's just as cute as can be. So next one, and that's just the same car wash. But you can see the cupola, the roof line. It's really well thought of. It looks like kind of like an old barn. It just fits the community. Like I said, in the same way that the windmill market fits this community, hoping that what you guys do on that corner can fit the community too. Am I saying that you should therefore redesign your entire project to look like this? No, these aren't examples of what I think you should do. These are instead examples of developers, builders, entrepreneurs like yourselves who really went the extra mile, in my opinion, to create a great design. This next one is what they call Robertsville Corner. It's in San Jose on the corner of Allen Expressway and Cherry, next to Bass Pro Shops and Costco and Best Buy. A very highly commercial area, but they made the decision to do something different on this corner. This place has been there since I was a kid. I grew up in Los Gatos, and my mom used to come here every Saturday. This place is very beloved. I mean, it's super successful. And one of the reasons it is because of the design. I think it's just a really wonderful, fun place to go. And this next one kind of shows that shows Robertsville from afar. You can see they use the car wash kind of, bay to make that look like a barn with this old Victorian kind of thing. Again, I'm not saying that that's the right vernacular or design for San Juan Bautista. I'm saying, what I am saying though, is that these guys decided to do something really special on that corner, because they could have just done a like Penguin car wash in Hollister, but they didn't. They went the extra mile. Can you go to that before you go to Highlands? Brian, can you do the one right before? Yeah, that to the left. Yeah, that one. Here's a close-up of Robertsville in San Jose, and you can see the old vintage pumps and the landscaping and the shake or shingles on the. I mean, these are in the little cornices underneath that lip, underneath the roof. I know this is expensive construction, Mr. Avila. You're talking about budget. I know this. Good design is not cheap. I understand that, but I think what this city is telling you is that we want good design. Not that your project is not well designed. I'm not saying that, but we're really looking for these extra things. Like, look at the vintage pumps. That adds so much. And this isn't San Jose. No one would call San Jose the city of history, by the way, like in San Juan Bautista, but these guys just took it upon themselves to create kind of a historical kind of vibe at their corner, which is a gas station and a car wash. Here's the one that was brought up before that Brian mentioned just a minute ago that Jose and I were talking about. This is in the Carmel Highlands, right underneath Highlands Inn, if you're familiar where that is, just south of Carmel. It's a little tiny gas station, but it looks like Hansel and Gretel live there. It's so cute. I don't even know how much money I've spent in that gas station or that convenience store. Because in that convenience store, they've got wine and cheese and, artisanal prosciutto, and they got all kinds of stuff. You fill up your picnic basket, keep heading down the coast to Big Sur. It's just a really successful, wonderfully designed little enclave. I think the landscaping adds a lot with the vines growing around these wooden bay windows. You can see all the attention to detail. They've got the clay tile roof also, the arch windows that Brian mentioned earlier, an arched door, the stone wall in front. I mean, all of these things I think add character and make it a really great design. There should be one more of the Highlands. Is it the same one? Sure. Well, that's it. Okay. So anyway, those are just my my pictorial examples of what I'm talking about when I say exceptional design. I think all of those properties were designed very, very well. Again, not saying that you should therefore go redesign your place to look like Robertsville Corner or like the place in the Highlands, but to say that that's kind of the bar. That's the bar that we want to accept here in San Juan. We want it to be great. We want the design to be great. Does that make sense, Mr. Avila? Yeah. Sure.
Yes, it makes sense. The thing is when we working with the historian, we had stone on the building at one time, and we were told that was a no. So I'm getting conflicting things back and forth. The commission wants stone and which we're more than happy to do whatever's needed. And then the pictures you're just showing, there was a lot of craftsmen in there. There was, which is like your market down here. That's more of a craftsman look. And we're told it needs to be Mediterranean revival. So I'm getting I'm getting conflicts here to which way do I go?
Well, no, I thought I said it
No.
a couple, 3 times. By showing you these examples of what I think is really good design, I'm not at all intimating that you should therefore go make your project look like Robertsville Corner in San Jose,
no.
or look like the little gas station in the Highlands, although that's not a bad way to go. And the gas station in the Highlands, for example, there wasn't stone, that was stucco. It had a little tiny stone wall in front.
Yeah, that's what we had. We didn't have a lot of stone. We just had stone down low
Oh,
in the front.
well, yeah, and I don't know what the historian told you or anything else, but right now it sounds like this thing is heading towards a continuance. And when it comes back, the extent to which you can add detail, add character, add personality to make this unique to San Juan Bautista, that will go over so huge. I don't want what you build there to be the same thing that you would build in Barstow or Fresno or Bakersfield. I want it to be special to San Juan Bautista, just like Windmill Market is special to San Juan Bautista. You'll never see a facility like Windmill Market anywhere. It's special to us. So that I know it's kind of rhetorical. I'm not sure, I don't want to put too much of a fine point on it because I don't want to tell you how to, design anything. I just want to tell you what we're looking for. It's something very, very special.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right.
So one staff comment on particular styles. Our guidelines don't require a particular style. They do encourage Mediterranean Monterey styles in certain situations. This sort of commercial development, for example, that particular style is encouraged, which is why we sort of encourage that in this redesign. And as I said before, some of the elements in the photos that you showed are part of landscaping. Some of them are part of the exterior perimeter treatment with respect to walls, and some of them have to do with where windows are placed, and that sort of based on comments that we heard earlier. So I'd just like to make sure that we know that direction to the applicant is to prepare an exemplary design project, regardless of style. And I think that what they're hearing is that they're headed in the right direction.
And they're heading in that right direction, Brian. I would add this is very, very much appreciated. As I started off saying, thank you for the opportunity to design this thing the best way possible. I want you guys to be proud of this. I want you to show your kids this project and have it be a legacy. Like I did that gas station in San Juan Bautista. Look how beautiful it is. It's amazing. You know what I mean? Something that is really important. That's what we're shooting for. Thank you, Mr. G.
All right, so my comments are or it's actually a question to our staff. So just remind me again, and actually I think I know the answer. right now, our applicants are meeting all of the requirements, right, in design.
Yes, they are, but with respect to per conditions of approval. And in other words, it's not ready unless they meet conditions of approval.
Okay.
And conditions of approval, of course, as I said before, have a lot of different elements that are not quite there yet. So it is it's acceptable, provided that they meet the conditions of approval. So,
Got it.
Yeah.
And since we don't have everything, like we were saying, like the whole package and everything, and it still has to come to us for review regardless. Then I think for me, just it'd probably be, I think what I'm trying to say is from the applicant, I would actually like to see the whole entire rendering. You know, I know you said it was the 11th hour, and I understand that this is what you had at the time, and I'm still having a hard time seeing that whole picture, and it would be nice if we could get it all as a package, just so that I can view it and really get an understanding of the project and what you guys are going for. I do want to echo what Commissioner DeVries has mentioned. You know, San Juan is very special to us. Our community wants us to make sure we're making the right decisions here. So the pressure is on, and therefore that's why, you know, we feel the way we feel. If there is any way that we can persuade you to make another revision, or just, you know, give us that whole everything in package and sell it to us, absolutely, we'll give the okay. But I just wanted to make sure that gas station fits within that gateway. Commissioner DeVries nailed it. When you come into San Juan, that is the gateway. That's what you see, and we would hate for it to just change that landscape. And so that's all I have. And I think that's the end of our commissioner. Oh, comments to Commissioner Correa. Do you have anything? I think. All right, cool. All right. So I guess the next portion here is to make a motion. So I wanted to see if anyone would make a motion for this to approve a resolution today.
I could make a motion, but since it needs to come back, let me ask the applicant and the assistant city manager, how much time do you guys need? It can be the next meeting, or do you want 2 meetings? November. Pardon, what's that
it's
list?
a month away.
Okay, so is that fine for you, Brian? Okay, so I make a motion that we continue this agenda item to the next regularly scheduled planning commission meeting, November 7th, Liz? November 7th, 2023.
I'll second that.
There was a resolution that was to make a motion on too as well. I'm sorry. There was a resolution that was part of this package. So we're saying we're not going to even go there at this time. We're just going to take, we're going to move it forward to the next meeting.
That would be the effect of the motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just ask, why are we doing that? Why don't we approve this resolution and let them come back with a package that they're telling us that they're going to prepare?
Well, why not? Let me answer a question with a question. Why not just kick the whole thing, including the resolution?
Pardon?
Why not just kick the whole thing, including the resolution? What benefit is there to approving a resolution tonight?
So we can move forward with this thing.
We are moving forward to the next meeting. Hopefully the whole thing will get approved. What do you think, Tony?
I think Tony has a point there. As long as we understand the resolution does not interfere what we brought forward to this commission at this time. I think that's what Commissioner Correa is trying to move forward here. I kind of go along with that too as well. In other words, knowing clear that we will not put a stop to anything that we discussed that was important to us to bring forward to the next meeting.
It's an interesting dilemma, isn't it? Because the conditions of approval virtually require that what is not complete in this particular package tonight be complete when it comes back. And so either way, a continuance works. We want to encourage this project to go forward. Everyone does. It's a great project for the community. It's at the gateway to the Pinnacles. If it's done right, it's perfect. So we want to get this in front of the Planning Commission as soon as we can, so we can get this kind of critical feedback. When it comes back before the commission, we want to make sure that the commission has an opportunity to see the complete package, which is what the conditions require. So either way, you get to the same result. So my feeling is that the motion will get you to have the applicant come back in a month with a complete package per condition as represented in the conditions, and the conditions of approval will let you do that too. So I don't think it hurts to continue the project in that regard. That would be, so staff's perspective.
Okay. And it doesn't hurt the applicant in any way right now.
No,
Because they have to come back.
They have to come back anyways.
there's a lot of things that have to come back.
Well, then, shoot, I'm for approving it, making it move forward, just to show that in good faith that we want you guys to do this, but hopefully.
Yeah, if we approve the resolution, it's just to amend what was current. I mean, what was we thought was in cement at that time.
That's right. Yes.
So we're not officially approving everything until it does come before us.
That's right.
So I think it might be a good gesture on our part to
I
go
agree.
ahead and approve this resolution in good faith that we're going to get all the answers to all the questions that we have, and that we will meet whatever it takes to make San Juan Bautista in that particular area one of our greatest pride to move forward with.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and in keeping in mind though that, and I'm sort of reflecting on the nature of the comments this evening. If you are going to approve the resolution this evening, you're basically saying the design that you have in front of you on the west elevation is what you want to see. And then your particular comments regarding exemplary design and so forth, the conditions of approval really are all about accepting this particular design as presented. And if you don't want that, if you want the applicant to consider some of the comments that were made about the design itself, then maybe your motion to continue would be the most appropriate one. But if you want to buy into the current design as presented, then you would adopt the resolution for approval. And that would sort of basically lock in the design. And then the applicant would come back with a complete package based on that particular concept.
Should I say so moved?
No,
No,
well, we have a motion on the floor. We have a first with Commissioner DeBreeze and second by Chair Aranda. I'm calling for the vote.
all right. Yeah, then, clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Correa,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBreeze,
Yes.
Commissioner Maderos,
Yes.
Chair Aranda.
Yes.
Motion carried to continue the item to November 7, 2023.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, staff, for clearing that up for us.
Right. Thank you.
As for the applicant, please come back. We really want to see this move forward. Just we'll tackle this next month. We'll get there. Yes, we're gonna do a quick bathroom break, 5 minutes to let everyone just settle. All right, so we are back and we are going to continue on to our next item on the agenda, which is 4B, considering the recommendation of the considering the recommendation of the Historic Resource Board and consider a site and design review permit to demolish an existing duplex and accessory structures and thereafter construct two new multiple family dwellings on property known as 45 Washington Street, VPN 002-410-240 as follows. A two-story duplex, each unit 1,584 square feet with 4 bedrooms, and B, two-story duplex accessory dwelling units, each unit with 3 bedrooms and 1995 square feet. I'm just not doing good today. Staff, do we have a report?
Yes, this project first came before the Historic Resources Board as a review item to review the previous status code for this site was 7R. And we had Meg Clovis, our architectural historian, now famous, review the historical integrity of the existing project. Apparently there is a lot of history there, but she did find that there is no significant environmental resource remaining on the site. And there is a staff report to that effect attached to your agenda, and therefore HRB review is not required. And that subject matter was reviewed by the store and confirmed by the HRB back in March or April of 2023. So what you have here is an application, and the aspect of the project that involves demolition is not part of this application. What's involved in this application is just simply the construction of a duplex with 2 attached accessory dwelling units. Our ordinance allows a duplex in the R2 zone, subject to the zoning ordinance standards referenced in your staff report. The project is below the thresholds for minimum lot area. I mean, it's larger than the minimum required. It meets the standards for lot width, density, floor area ratio, building coverage, height, and setbacks for those particular units. The accessory dwelling units are allowed by right. Accessory dwelling units are required to be integrated into the design of the project per our accessory dwelling unit ordinance. And that's why all the required setbacks are met with respect to the accessory dwelling units. And also, I'd like to mention that the analysis in the staff report regarding the FAR and the coverage also incorporates the accessory dwelling units, although that's not necessarily required to be done. So with the accessory dwelling units, all the standards are met. So there are conditions of approval attached to the project. And those conditions of approval are from the planning department. They are from the fire department, the public works department, and city engineer. So you have a complete set of interdepartmental review conditions of approval that we'll be happy to go through them with you, answer any questions about those. With that, I'd like to just simply put up the slides and start the screen share. Assuming I still have what I thought I had. No.
I think you do, right? 645 Washington. The one on the left.
Yeah, this one is the if you want to basically look at the
I see.
this is the HRB review. I think I need to get yeah, I did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the schoolhouse.
Okay, and now I need to minimize this. And share screen, yep. Very good, there we are. So a couple of observations about the site plan. You see here, the principal dwelling units here is a duplex in the R2 zone. The accessory dwelling units are detached. Our ordinance is written specifically to accommodate projects like this. We actually anticipated changes in state law that would allow an accessory dwelling unit to be built at the same time multifamily dwellings are being built. Previous law did not allow that. You had to have a principal dwelling unit on the site. And then, and only then, could you build an ADU. Recent state law allows it. Our ordinance already allows it. So we're kind of ahead of the curve, anticipating that. Before I talk about the design guidelines, which I would really like to get into a little bit of the detail, I'd like to just mention that the setback for the ADUs is 71 feet from the street. And 50% of that setback is landscape. So 36 feet of landscaping between the street and the ADU units. On the duplex side, it's 36 feet from the street. And then 10 feet of that is landscape. The garage units that are closest to the street are 1 story, providing a little bit of horizontal relief for the duplexes that are immediately behind and attached to those. Our parking ordinance requires a couple of parking spaces for the ADUs, 1 each. And it requires parking spaces for the units themselves independently. But overall, I think it's important to understand that this project has 2 parking spaces per unit. And does meet the parking standards for 3 and 4 bedroom units. This is a family style project. It has 2, the ADUs are really taking advantage of the maximum size allowed in our ADU ordinance, 1,200 square feet. They're just below that standard, and they're 3 bedrooms. So they're going to accommodate families. The duplexes also are 3 and 4 bedroom units, and also designed to accommodate families. And with that, you would expect that, well, maybe the on-site landscaping would not be, as generous, but each dwelling unit does have about 400 square feet of outdoor turf or landscape area where recreation, outdoor recreation internal to the project can be conducted. I think we need to make sure with respect to the landscape plan that the street frontage is well landscaped, because it's 10 feet, and then you run into several parking spaces before you get to the landscaping that's adjacent to the units, between the parking area and the units. So there's an opportunity there for that to occur. So with that, the project does meet the side yards, the rear yards, and I'd like to just kind of then go over the design guidelines very briefly, because I think it's really important to understand that with the overall current conversation about expansion of the city's boundaries, perhaps that might be something that might change from what's currently in the general plan. Infill development becomes much more important. And this is an R2 district. It's supposed to accommodate a little bit more density. That's the design. And there are several blocks in the city center part of town that are R2 designation. And even though there are single-family residences in the area. Three sides of this project have two-story elements, and so it's a mixed character. The neighborhood is mixed with respect to overall density and scale of development. I think this project does a good job of integrating with that particular mix of character, anticipating that there will be more R2 development in the future. So as I look at the design guidelines, it's important to understand that not every single checkbox in the design guidelines will apply to every single project. Some of these guideline suggestions are more appropriate to projects that are 20, 30, 50 unit projects where you can have the opportunity to push dwelling units up closer to the street and tuck parking behind and so forth. Projects like this that are infill development don't always have that same opportunity. So as you go through the design guidelines, it's important to understand what drives this project design. And what drives this project design is the interior open space provided for these units. Ordinarily, you wouldn't want to see parking next to the street. But if you begin to tuck the parking behind these units, you lose a lot of that interior landscaping because you have to provide a driveway. And that driveway has to meet accessibility requirements. And so there are some constraints operating here that this project really cannot meet some of the design guidelines that would otherwise be important to meet with a larger site or more units on the table. I did provide a set of design guidelines with some check marks that I felt would be appropriate for the commission to consider regarding whether this project meets those standards or not. Before I turn it over to the applicant to go over the project, I just want to make sure that the commission understands what's in the packet. You have the staff report, which analyzes the zoning standards. You have reference to design guidelines. You have coverage of the accessory dwelling unit standards that apply. And similar to the project that we had on Mission Vineyard Road, the Grist development, these units, our ordinance is not consistent with state law in this respect. That is, it's a misinterpretation. Our ordinance misinterprets the requirements in state law that allow a 1,200 square foot or less ADU to be built. And the commission made similar findings for the 830 Mission Vineyard Road project that allowed that project to go forward with a 1,200 unit ADU. Many people say, well, you're just building another single family home on the site. Well, that's what state law allows. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the applicant to go over the project and have the project go through this particular set of plans.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just trying to orient myself to some of these elevations, Brian.
Yes.
Particularly, I'm looking at sheet 4 of the plans. Thank you. And I'm trying to figure out where Washington Street is relative to that last lower elevation on sheet 4.
Yeah, so you see the one-story garage element
Yes.
that is facing the narrow portion of that. That would be the if you look at the elevation immediately above,
Yes.
you see on the left-hand side, you'll see 2 arched windows.
Yes.
And a little sort of design above here. And then you see the 2-story duplex behind. So what you see from Washington Street will be this elevation here where my cursor is. So it would be this 2-story way in the back, 71 feet away. This is the ADU elevation. And then on the opposite side, facing Washington Street, 36 feet away from the street, you'll see this.
Okay, so that changes everything for me, because that was my objection. And design wise, when I was talking to you on the phone yesterday.
I see.
And so you're saying, because I saw this. And I thought, goodness gracious, is this gonna front Washington Street?
Yes, no,
It's
That-
not.
no, yeah, yeah, that shows the paint scheme and, yeah, I'd like the applicant to go through the colors and material.
Right, but I was just curious, because, and what I caught in your comments with a lot of interest, was when you said that one story. I even drew it out in preparation for talking.
Oh.
I said, I think that
Yeah.
Washington, if Washington's here, should start off with one story and then go up, so it's not like boom in your face.
Which
know?
is what you got, yeah, with the
Which
elevation,
is what's already been designed.
Right.
Okay, that's a game changer for me.
yeah,
And
and
that's what I meant yesterday when I was talking to you, and I said scale and massing.
I got it,
I thought, whoa, that's a lot, just
understood,
towering above you as you're walking down Washington Street. But if it graduates,
yeah,
first story, second story, and you kind of ease into the property and have the tall stuff be in the back, short stuff in the front, I think that's perfect.
I'm glad we're able to have an accommodation from our conversation yesterday. So I think the important thing about this project, though, is the interior open space and the relationship between the units. Because I think what it does is it promotes a real family style project. And with some interior open space that's usable for recreation and also very attractive to the residents who are going to live there. So with that, I'd like to give it over to the applicant to go over the project.
Welcome. Yes, it should light up green.
Green.
Say it again. Yep. It's green, right?
Oh, okay, now it's
Yeah,
great.
there we go.
Okay, well, also, it's not just the front of the garage and then step back to the two-story part, but side to side, it's step back to the front elevation of the house of the units is forward from the front elevation of the ADUs by a bunch. So that gives you a little bit more of a perspective too.
More of a break in the massing, is that what you're talking about?
Right.
Okay. But the experience for motorists, pedestrians, tourists, visitors to San Juan Bautista, when they go down Washington, they're not gonna be overwhelmed. It's gonna be a one-story experience backed up by taller products, correct, behind it,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. That's perfect.
So my name's Jim Vaselka. I'm an architect in the state of California. And I did one better than telling my kids about the great project I'm gonna do in San Juan Bautista. I brought one of them with me. And he's bored to hell right now, so. But anyway, he's learning to be a draftsman and this is his first planning commission, so
Great, nice. Welcome.
it's Alex.
Yeah.
So. This project started close to, well, I think a little more than a year ago. When I got handed a set of drawings that was pretty rudimentary, rectangle building. And my client was saying, well, the city's not going to approve this design and I need to hire you to come up with a design that'll pass their design guidelines. And I thought, oh, that's a challenge. So I'm here today after, I think we went back and forth maybe 4 or 5 times.
Right.
Designing, redesigning, trying to come up with answers to a lot of the design guideline questions. And then we've had input from Meg Clovis too and others. So yeah, I hope that we came up with a design that I think the city can be proud of and I think we can be proud of too.
Right.
As you know, the project as it sits today is a pretty dilapidated old house and dirt driveway and pretty no real landscaping or anything like that. So I think it'll be a benefit to the whole city. I think it'll pick up that whole neighborhood, this little project. I learned a lot over this year about Mediterranean revival. And I feel like I could do it again, do another project here in this town after learning all the things that I learned here. So we talked a little bit about the front landscaping and all of that and how we offset the front elevations of the units and how we tried to incorporate some low walls and some fencing to give each one of the units some open space and create this kind of a family environment for pretty good sized units. That's not always easy to do, and it's particularly more challenging when you have a smaller lot. So if you have a bigger lot, meeting your design guidelines is a little bit easier than trying to fit these things like puzzle pieces onto a smaller lot. This lot happens to be narrow and long, so that led to a sort of a linear design, you know, where we had to sort of do things as you enter the site so that you weren't overwhelmed with you know, mass and scale right at the start coming onto the site, but kind of step into it as you're
concerned with.
Right.
Just let the project or the development kind of unfold to you,
Mhm.
right? As you get into them.
Yeah, and
That's
you know who was an expert at that was Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I meant to say too that I was a 15-year chairman of the planning commission in the 80s and 90s in Marina.
Marina.
And I became the mayor of Marina for 2 terms.
Oh, we done.
Yeah.
Surprised I haven't run into you before.
So I kind of know where you guys are coming from. I'm happy to go through some of the design guidelines if you want me to. And I don't really need to do that. I mean, we've done a lot of work to get through those design guidelines, and I don't know that we skipped one. We tried to address each of them, and there are a couple that we couldn't address, but for the most part, we hit every one of those design guidelines. And I guess if you have any questions of me, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Yeah, actually, I have one. So sorry, I'm looking at this plan. I think it's on page 6. It's really faded. So I know you guys mentioned 8. Yeah, is it the landscaping one? I know you mentioned there's 8 spots, but I only see 6 parking spaces.
Yeah, unfortunately, the landscape plan did not keep pace with the site design.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
and this reflects an earlier iteration. And we just this was what I had in file, and it represents a little bit of what we hope to achieve. But the land, that's why there's an extensive landscape condition.
Got it.
Yeah, it
Okay.
sets out a real clear performance standard for.
No worries.
landscaping.
I was
Yeah.
just concerned since there's 2 units. Was it 4 bedrooms?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, parking like
I think you can see the 8 spaces on the site plan on the page 1.
Okay, maybe that's where I'm, and so I just want to make sure we're, I see. Oh, so I'm assuming, it's a 2-car garage, so the
Yeah.
2 spaces is coming from the garage.
Right.
Okay, and then I'm assuming there's 2 more next to it, and then you have 8, because
Mhm.
you'd have 4 on the other side.
Right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I just want to make sure that, you know, since it is going to be like an apartment style thing, and you got that there is sufficient for me, just.
Yeah, before there are other questions, I'd just like to point out on page 12 of the design guidelines that I gave you, the copy. There is a little picture of a project with an interior courtyard that's landscaped as you approach the courtyard. And I think the applicant took that picture to heart
Got it.
in conceptualizing the interior spaces of this project.
Perfect. All right, cool. Yeah, other than that, I mean, I think that was one important thing. I think you did a fabulous job. Like setting all this up with that little space that you have. And if I had something else to comment to make, it would be that, I mean, it falls in line with our general plan and getting, you know, more ADUs, more housing. I mean, this is just, it's fabulous. So then I guess what I can do is open it up to public comment. So
Also, I noticed Charlie Bedola is here if you have any questions about fire related conditions. It's been hanging in there since we started.
Poor Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything. Do any commissioners have anything before I open it public?
Can I ask Charlie a question? Chief Bedola, so you've been sitting there patiently. and you know this project, I'm assuming you looked at the plans. Do you have any thoughts, comments about pre-connects or standpipes or anything, or access to get around, to get hosed to where it needs to be, any of that stuff, since these are two-story structures?
Okay, I'm on it, transitioned over. Yeah, I think it's more of a 13D system, just a simple residential system will make it. And then as far as access, the fire code states we just have to be able to get within 150 feet anywhere, and I believe we can get that access from the street side on that.
Is it gonna be sprinkled, these structures? Yeah, Brian's nodding yes.
Yeah, what's the square footage on them? They're new structures, right? On
Yeah,
the-
they're new and because they're new duplexes, I believe that the ADUs would also be sprinklered.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a 13D. It's not an apartment complex, so they'll be individually done. So they're just like regular old homes instead of a commercial system on it, which brings the cost way down.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chief.
And then actually I had one last consideration or one comment. Brian, I know the sewer main is going to be replaced, correct?
Yeah, there was some real concern on the part of the Public Works Director that we resolve an existing problem with the sewer main that's shared, or sewer lateral that's shared between 4 properties. And this project will be required to connect independently to Washington Street, the main in Washington Street.
Got it.
As a result, and it won't share those laterals after the project's built.
Oh, perfect. And then from there, it should be fine. We shouldn't run into any other.
Not for this
separation.
project.
Okay,
Right.
cool.
Can't guarantee the other connections.
Okay, great. Any other comments from commissioners? Or questions, I would say. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and open it to public comments. Clerk, do we have anyone on Zoom land?
Chair, seeing no hands raised and no speaker cards received in chambers.
Perfect. All right, cool. Then I will open it up to commissioner comments.
I would just add, I like the project. I like the way it's laid out, and if they're gonna mirror this picture in here on the design guidelines, that seems like a very attractive entrance, a 4-foot high stucco wall with a kind of gazebo entrance. That looks cool to me. So I like it.
Commissioner Maderos.
Ditto, just exactly what you said. I like the project itself and ready to go with it. Thank you. Good job, Brian there too. Thank you.
And Commissioner DeVries. Nothing. All right, well then, with that being said, I guess let's see if we can get a motion. All right, so the motion I'm looking for. Yep, that's it is.
This is the resolution, right? Is that what we're looking for? Yeah, I'll make a motion, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista, accepting the recommendation of the Historic Resources Board and consider a site and design review permit to demolish an existing duplex and accessory structures and thereafter construct multifamily dwellings.
Perfect, and can I get a second?
Second.
Perfect, with a motion from Commissioner Darrows and a second from Commissioner Correa. Clerk, can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Correa,
Yes.
Commissioner DeVries,
Yes.
Commissioner Maderos,
Yes.
Chair Aranda.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Perfect. All right, now moving on next to our action.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Nice to meet
Great
you.
work. Thank you.
Good luck, Alex.
Moving on to action item or number 5 on the agenda, action items. Review, discuss, and accept the ad hoc committee's recommendations regarding amendments to zoning code regulations affecting the conduct of business outside an enclosed building. Staff, do we have anything?
We have a we have a summary of the ad hoc committee's meetings and notes, and then we're ready to take direction to go ahead and prepare draft ordinances pursuant to those recommendations. So,
Perfect.
and I know you have what we presented to you before was a complete ordinance redraft. Not sure where we stand with that, but you know, it was our first attempt. So I know you guys had a lot of conversation out there.
Yes.
Community.
Going I was just gonna say, Commissioner DeVries, do you want to start off with any of this? Just to kind of give our other commissioners an idea of what was said at the meeting and what we're looking for.
What was said at the meeting and what we're looking for, what the community is looking
What the
for.
community is
Okay, I
looking
think
for,
really,
yeah.
right? Yeah, I think what's a pithy way of saying it? Our business community is really looking for, as you hear all across the United States, this isn't meant to be personal at all, but they're looking for government to get off their back. You know, Lori Wilson, for example, at Bears Hideaway, her ladies' night out, and chair massages, and you know, whatever else. Vertigo, you know, with girls from Santa Cruz selling soap and candles on card tables in front of the restaurant there. On the one hand, that doesn't seem like there's much of a controversy that is associated with those types of activities. So then what Jose and I try to do is balance. First of all, it's what we try to figure out, what is the government interest here in regulating those things? Is it health and safety and welfare? Is it ingress, egress? Why exactly is the city, what is the city's interest here? Because if the business owners were to be, if they're out here tonight, they would say, let's just do what we do. Why do we have to do all this extra rigmarole? And, you know, to some extent, I think there's some truth to that. And that's kind of what we felt. And when we had that meeting at Vertigo that day, you know, they just want to be kind of left alone on the one hand. On the other hand, I think there is a legitimate city interest in regulating business activities like that to make sure they are safe and that they pass muster. And we don't want to have just anyone, you know, selling stuff on a pop-up basis or otherwise, unless it is safe and is in comports with the general welfare of the city. So those are the kind of things we balance. And surprisingly, we didn't get a whole lot of pushback on the idea of, I thought we would, on the idea that these pop-up vendors obtain business licenses from the city, and I think that's probably the city's best opportunity to obtain some kind of regulation. Provided, however, and this is a big however, it's easy to do so. Online, click, enter your credit card number or whatever, you know, nominal cost, not expensive. If we can make it very, very user-friendly, then I think the problem's solved. Would you agree with that?
I would definitely agree. That was one of our biggest findings, was that a lot of the business owners just, it's a struggle. They find out that they want to host a pop-up tomorrow. Let's just say today is Tuesday. I'm going to host it on Friday, and it's not that easy for that vendor to just drive all the way to San Juan, come to our lobby and come within those special hours, then get the permit and fill it out. And then if they find out, oh, you need another form, or you need to come back and pay this. So essentially what we're looking for is something where you come in, it's one pager, it has everything you need, and you pay it, and you can do it online. And what I'm also hearing is that we would like to see roughly a 24 to 48 hour turnaround when that happens. So when they get this license, they get everything going, they can have their pop-up the next day almost, essentially, and it goes through the approval process. Obviously I understand there's staff limitations there, so I don't know if that's something that can be outsourced, or you know, maybe it goes through someone else and someone reviews it and they go through our codes, and then if there are questions, it comes to the planning or whatever. But essentially that's big. Another one that we also noticed as well was, part of that process is it's pretty complicated. And one of the things that a lot of the business owners really didn't like was having to draft up a letter saying, hey, I'm allowing this vendor to come on site to the property to host my special event. And given the fact that you wouldn't, as an owner, allow anyone just to walk onto your property. So it's looking at things like that where we can make it even simpler, get it just squared away, and it's just easy and going. And what I'm trying to get at is going around all this is we're not really business friendly here in San Juan. And I hate to say that. We need to fix that. I've had conversations with some commissioners over in Hollister, and I'm asking them, why is it that our business is closed here and they go there? And it's just the simple solution is it's easier to open up and spin up a business in Hollister. And I get it that we're being selective, but I want to just see how is it that we can make it easier. And I think this is an easy way, especially when you're encouraging the special pop-up vendors that are from a different city and they bring that following here to San Juan. And if they have a great experience here, they're going to come back and they're going to shop and they're going to spend their time here. So those are some things that we truly wanted to take a look at. Other things that we found some findings were how long food trucks can stay on people's on businesses' properties. A lot of our vendors don't want to just a lot of our business owners don't want to just see these pop-ups and these food trucks on site staying there all day and they're not paying their fair share or whatever. So I think we came up with like a 4-day was a happy medium in case there was a festival or something where they could stay on site and then rotate. So that was pretty much it. Other than that, I would have to say that Brian's report or everything he had kind of already lined up with what we found, which was really great. It's just we just need to make the certain little tweaks about how can we make it a little more easier to acquire those licenses. But other than that, that's it. If I also had another recommendation, and I forget whether city council has worked on this, is having our office open from normal business hours so that these people can come in. If not, then a QR code or something on the window where they can apply.
I think 99.9% of the stuff can be handled
Online. Yeah.
Just get
Yeah,
the
simple
website on.
credit card system and then that license is good. Oh, one last thing. I did want to say, if we do implement something like that, I think it would be really nice. And this is off topic. A lot of our business owners would love to see a renewal process so that they don't have to reapply for the license every year and go through this crazy paperwork. If there was simply a renewal button and everything's the same, there's no changes, then copy and paste what I have and just pay the fee. So maybe the same thing with our pop-up vendors. If they're going to be coming here every year renewing, maybe it's just a renewal and we're ready to rock and roll.
I think that's a good idea. One little tweak or consideration would be that the license tax is based on gross receipts from the previous year. So those can differ. And there's a schedule that goes with that's in the ordinance.
Oh, okay.
And so it's not just an automatic renewal. Yeah.
Got it.
But something we could pursue.
Yeah.
Simpler. The other thing about the regulation, so it's okay if I say something about the ordinance that
That's just what I was going to bring up, the ordinance.
Oh, okay. So the ordinance was pretty ambitious with respect to changes, and it changed a lot of stuff in the current code and created a permit scheme that doesn't currently exist. And what it did was it said, okay, well, here are some stuff we understand by right, no permit. Here's some stuff where you just get an administrative review, and here's some stuff where you actually need to come for a planning commission. Was there any thought in your conversations about the limitations involved in those tiers? That for example, a conditional use permit, I believe, was required if you wanted more than one food truck on your site at the same time, or if you used up dedicated parking spaces. for longer than 1 day a week or something like that. I mean, there's standards like that built into those, that permit scheme. There was a lot of flexibility in there, but was there any thought about, did you get an kind of an idea regarding what people might like to see?
Yeah,
in those
my
situations?
impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner DeVries, it was more of these business owners wanted more flexibility. They didn't want these restrictions.
I would say simplicity.
Yeah, simplicity. It was simplicity, make it easy, just not overcomplicate it.
So what will happen is a lot like the home occupation ordinance, where it's pretty easy to get a home occupation permit if all you're doing is conducting your business from your bedroom. But it gets a little tough if you have some hazardous substances that you're dealing with, or you have truck deliveries to your property, you know, where a lot of material gets dropped off and you're storing it in your driveway. You know, that, and then you end up disrupting the character of the neighborhood and or creating problem for your neighbors because of odors or noise or whatever. So there are those then heavier requirements requiring a use permit for things that create problems. So was that recognized in your conversation, the need for any of that kind of thing, or we're just dealing with the fact that businesses just want to be able to conduct business and get our foot off their back?
More towards the latter than the former.
Okay.
I think the key word is simplicity.
Yeah, so I can suggest that we take another look at the draft. I will redraft that so that it creates a simpler process. Yeah, so
And we'll be there.
just generally.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, everything looked great. I just, yeah, we just make it easy and quick and painless.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the TULP that we had issued was a very simple I think people love that, but built into that was a requirement for health.
Yeah,
permits
and
where required.
Yeah, and so we still want to see that. All the business owners agreed that having the health permit, I think it was a seller's permit, and then they all agreed. Everyone should pay their fair share. But again, if we can get it all into one form, quick and painless, they just fill it out online, pay, and then maybe there's a 24-hour turnaround or review, and then they can host their.
We'll just
pop-up.
institutionalize the TULP, basically. I mean,
Yeah,
we'll
and
fix it, but
yeah,
it
and
sounds like
in
that's the
there,
process people like.
yeah, and
It's
another
like an
thing.
overnight thing.
Yeah, and the other thing too that they recommended too was just stating what those rules are, whether it means, hey, the food truck's only here for 4 days, or you can't have this if you have hazardous chemicals, or just have it all laid out there in layman's terms, and then they, when they issue this permit, you just sign it. That will say you understand the terms, and that was pretty much it. Other than that, we're pretty happy. Any comments from our commissioners?
I would just like to add a comment that I hope in 6 months or a year, Commissioner Rhonda will be able to sit here and say honestly that San Juan Bautista is a business-friendly city. Be nice. So I've been here 3 years. I've heard a lot of people comment about city government, and I've never heard a positive word.
I agree there.
Yeah, I just thank Commissioner Aranda and DeVries for putting this together. Appreciate it. Think you did a good job on it. Thank you. But my purpose here is to give power to business taking advantage provided by the city of history, owned and take ownership, acknowledge what is responsibly regulated, and that makes good business sense, and responsibly competitively in the San Juan Bautista successfully better than anywhere else.
Well said, well said. And then Commissioner DeVries, do you have any comments?
Yes, I would just like to remind my fellow Historic Resources Board members and commissioners to review the statutory underpinnings of the Historic Resources Board that's in your materials. Yeah, there's gonna be a quiz next in November.
I love it.
My dog might eat my homework.
No, it's really fascinating. You guys should go on to it because it's a huge responsibility. So yeah, let's get into it.
And then I think I'm supposed to, is this correct? Am I saying, I'm supposed to, I open this for public comment? Yes, so any public comments on our action item? Clerk, anybody on Zoom land?
Chair, seeing no hands raised.
And I'm assuming no comments from
None in
chambers.
chambers.
All right, great, then I guess Brian, we would make a recommendation here,
Your table to get right.
or are we making a,
On this item?
yeah, on this item? Oh, it's just discussion.
No, it's
Deals action, yeah, that's why I was
So,
like, is there a recommendation?
what I would appreciate is your direction to staff to follow up on the draft ordinance that we previously distributed. And come back to you with the necessary changes that incorporate these comments.
Mr. Chair, that would be my motion.
All right, can I get a second?
Second,
All right, with the motion from Commissioner DeVries and a second from Commissioner Correa, clerk, can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Correa,
yes.
Commissioner DeBreeze,
Yes,
Commissioner Maderos.
Yes.
Chair Aranda,
Yes.
motion carried.
Sweet.
One,
All right, and then I forget, I think there's an area for comments for commissioners, right? Can I make a comment real quick? Sorry. I just wanted to see if we could get a follow-up to the Casa Rosa and Neil's Market situation. And second, the other one would be perhaps having our community development director provide us with a report on what's going on with development within the city, kind of similar to what our city manager does with the city council. But you know, that's up to whether the commission would like a report like that, just to kind of.
I think those are both great ideas and I would love to entertain them at our next meeting.
Okay.
Windmill closes in 10 minutes and I haven't had anything to eat and I don't have any food at home. Sorry, I'm gonna be selfish.
Okay. Then
I can excuse myself if you guys can have that.
can we do that? Okay, we can do a report next time. That gives us staff some time.
I think that's worthy of
Okay.
additional conversation.
Cool.
So in answer to your questions, just very briefly,
Yeah.
Casa Rosa has been very slow, no action since December. So the last inspection was a drywall inspection. We don't get in there and inspect unless we're asked to.
Got it.
So for right now, the project is not moving very quickly. Not sure whether there's anybody inside doing work, but they have to call for inspections when they're ready. With respect to Neil's, there are a couple of things going on Neil's with respect to the excavation. There's a lot of interior improvements. That is also an active building permit, but they're looking at that excavation to deal with sewer lateral and a grease trap installation. So it's a lot of old stuff there that they need to deal with and they have to dig out and replace.
Got it.
Yes to the report. That's it.
Perfect. And then one last one before we can get out of here. Last time we were here entertaining or doing our last planning commission meeting, we had a member of the public come in and ask about that for 177 7th Street. Did we address her concern? She's been after me.
Yes. Yeah, she's quite upset and we have been communicating with her.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure that we are on top of it and not ignoring her.
We're not.
Yeah, perfect.
Right.
Perfect. That's it. Then I will ask for oh, I don't need to do an adjournment, right? I can just do a motion. Do I need to?
One more thing, director's report, Urban Growth Boundary Committee is rapidly moving towards adoption of recommended sphere of influence, urban growth boundary and planning area at their next meeting, which will occur on Friday. hopefully then we'll move on to city council with that recommendation and a resolution of staff recommended resolution of intention to amend the general plan to incorporate that and move the process forward.
Perfect. All right, great. So then I guess I'll move for, well, any other comments from commissioners? I saw you.
I better not.
Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn.
all right. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Right, okay, I did, yes, the next regular planning meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. It is 8:50 and this meeting's adjourned.